Project Origin is the sequel to the game F.E.A.R. It takes up about 30 minutes before the end of the previous game did, where you and your team are going in to pick up Genevieve Aristide. She's the president of Armacam Corporation, which is the corporation that's got all these Black Ops projects and all the nefarious goings-ons that set the stage for the first game. You're going in to get her, bring her into protective custody based on all the things that your operative in the first game was finding out as they were going through the game. When you get there, you find out that other guys are there trying to take her out. There's a big battle that takes place between them, who's going to get to her first. And in amongst that, the ending of the first game plays out with the big explosion that basically decimates the entire city and just throws everything into ruin. And then that kind of sets up the premise of where we go from there. And then you're left to pick up the pieces and figure out what's going on and ultimately try to stop Alma and the spread of her wrath. Well, one of the things that we did when we were thinking about what do we want to do with this game, how do we want to take it forward, what are some of the kind of the features and stuff that we want to introduce, is we really listened to the guys who loved the first game. We went to the forums and read what people were talking about. What did they love? What did they hate? What did they want to do that they couldn't? You know, that kind of stuff. And one of the things that we kept hearing over and over and over again was the idea that, you know, they see the AI that are interacting with the environment, you know, flipping things over for cover and toppling things and doing all that kind of stuff. And they wanted to do that as players, you know, because it was obviously effective for the AI to do that. So one of the things that we tried to do is incorporate that into the gameplay and give the player those options and those abilities. And we're still fine-tuning it and everything like that, but it looks like it's coming along really well. So I hope people will enjoy that. The game is all about pacing, you know, and horror is all about pacing, and I believe action is all about pacing. So we try to mix in, you know, big epic battles and action moments with, you know, tension-building progression, some problem-solving to kind of bring the tempo down, and then throw some scare events at you, and then, you know, use a palette cleansing of, you know, a couple little guys to fight, you know, and then build up to another big combat. And so it's really a roller coaster ride that we try to present of, you know, highs and lows and, you know, those scares mixed in with the combat and that kind of thing. Naming games is always impossible. It's really a difficult process, and we were just beginning in on the process of figuring out how we're going to name the game, what are we going to do. And the president of Warner Brothers, she used to be the president of Monolith, Samantha Ryan, she came in with the idea of, well, why don't we let the fans name the game, you know? So we set up this internet naming competition and let everybody send in their name ideas, and, you know, we went through an elimination process and finally wound up with Project Origin. We're tuning the melee a little bit, but we're not. We played with a little bit early on in production the idea of taking a little bit more, adding some more depth to the melee combat. But we found that it was kind of pulling away from kind of the heart of the game. You know, it was kind of derailing it a little bit. So we went back to a more simplified model, and then just tried to tune that up so it felt very intuitive and very natural. So that's where we're at. It's basically kind of back to what it was in F.E.A.R, but we've tuned it up a little bit and made it feel a little more smooth and easier to execute. We don't have necessarily, you know, traditional vehicles in the game, but one of the things that we always wanted to do, and this is a pet project of mine, not a pet project of mine, was the mech suit. You know, in the first game we had the armor suits, the powered armor suits, and those were pretty cool. And everybody, and once again, going back to kind of what are the fans asking for, you know, I want to get one of those, you know, kind of thing. So we added that to the game. You know, we went up with kind of the next gen, bigger model of this thing, and it's kind of like a mech suit tank. You know, and you climb up into the saddle, close the hood on it, and, you know, go for it. It's got big twin minigun arms and shoulder-mounted rocket launchers, and it's great. You can just destroy the whole city, and it's a lot of fun. So the first game got a few dings on it for lack of variety. You know, the environments were a little samey. There was, you know, people felt there weren't enough variety in enemies and that kind of stuff. And so that's been definitely the big banner that we've been running under, is variety, visual and everything else. And enemies definitely fall into that category. We have a far broader base of enemies that you're going to go up against, and they're more distinctly diverse. You know, they have very different appearances and a lot of different behaviors, and I think it's going to be a really good mix. People are always going to feel like they're running into something new as they play through the game.